Hi, welcome back, or welcome me back to my monthly tarot reading. I actually haven't touched my tarot cards in a month, and so it's kind of nice to be feeling them again. I've been doing a lot of oracle card readings and a lot of different kinds of readings. And so it's nice to be back in the thing that started it all, in a way, as far as cards are concerned. Now, Maddie is very talented and skilled, but he cannot do every single one of my videos, so my apologies for those who so enjoyed the New Ordinary Wednesday format, because the tarot format remains the same. But you know how this works. I'm going to do COA, concern, opportunity or obstacle, advantage or aversion. Ooh. And this reading will be for October tarot, what we can expect, what we should be looking at, and what we should be, what we should and shouldn't be giving our attention to, basically. 1 second. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Woo! It's my first reading where all the cards came right side up. Okay. We start with the concern for October. Our concern is the Two of Swords, right side up. Swords is the suit of, there we go. Swords is the suit of air. It's the suit of intellectualization, particularly intellectualizing emotions. A lot of people think there's no such thing as emotional intelligence, but there definitely is such thing as emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence will keep you from freaking out or losing your mind in a situation where maybe a more calm or patient approach is more beneficial, right? So emotional intelligence helps us to not get ourselves into situations. But with the swords, we can intellectualize emotions, right? It's like, why do I feel this way? Or what, is it okay? Or is it important or significant if I feel this way? And so intellectualizing emotions can often rob us of the emotional information that we're getting, because we're trying to filter it through a different functionality of the consciousness, which is the intellectualizing functional brain capacity. So swords also has to deal with struggle and strife, projection, how we feel about ourselves but don't want to look in the mirror and face, so we either attract that situation in others or find that situation in others to point out. And it also has to do with trials and tribulations, but hard-earned lessons after struggle and strife. The swords is all about looking in the mirror and finding someone who you are satisfied with and content with and happy to be with, and who you are happy to be, period. So the Two of Swords, right side up, says, silent equilibrium with outer and inner struggles, the point of balance leading to self-acceptance and inner peace, acceptance of one's weaknesses with one's strength. I mean, how appropriate that in Libra, we are getting the indication of balance. Now, some people think, when I describe swords, that it's only about negative things. People think about it being concerning only the beginning of the journey, but the thing is, it's about struggle and strife, but hard-earned lessons after trials and tribulations. So this card is telling us that a lot of work has been done, and a lot of recognition has been come into, whether that's from work that you did or work that existence had to do for you because you were too busy avoiding the work. Existence has a way of pulling out the rug from under us. And so when that happens and we finally come to terms with things, with shit hitting the fan, or the fact that things have to change, that's when we come into this silent equilibrium with outer and inner struggles, the point of balance leading to self-acceptance and inner peace, acceptance of one's weaknesses with one's strengths, because we have no other option. Something about hitting rock bottom or feeling like you're at your wit's end is, people will often say it's a good thing, because then the only way to go is up. But it's also nice to be in a place of sobriety and recognition with yourself, where you realize that the bullshit just isn't going to fly for you anymore, where you understand that you're at a place in your life where you need to stop faking it, and you need to start making your existence a reflection of who you are on the inside. which is another great part of this card, which is talking about as within, so without, as above, so below, so that there is actual reflection, actual mirroring, actual balance between the forces within us and the forces outside of us. Also, this is October. The veil is super thin. The veil being that amorphous vibe between what we conceive as the living and what we conceive as the dead, what we conceive as the corporal and what we conceive as the spirit. So, you know, we have Halloween, we have Samhain. It's a spiritual time. And so for that reason, everything is going to start manifesting quicker in this season because spirit is alive and well and invited. This is a season where a spirit is invited and it comes. And so it comes to answer calls or be ghoulish and help you deal with issues. And so all that is to say, whatever you're dealing with now is always, whatever you deal with is always supported. The universe has always got your back. But in this particular case, it's whatever you're dealing with is not only supported by the universe, but it's supported by extra entities and spirits who have easier access and easier time coming into Earth, which is such a solid and corporal dimension of existence, and they are going to be able to assist you. So this is a time to set up your ancestral altar. This is a time for prayer. This is a time for, if you do it, spell casting. This is a time for wishing and dreaming and dreaming big. This is a time for vision, and this is a time to put your vision into manifest form so that you can start aspiring to it outside of your head, but in the actual physical world. So that's our concern. Very positive way to start and appropriate for the Libras to herald in balance. Yes? Our second card, the opportunity or the obstacle, is the Ace of Cups. Woo. Wait. There we go. The Ace of Cups. Cups is the suit of water. It's the suit of emotions. It's the suit of all liquids in the body, and therefore it rules not only procreation because of semen and blood, but also fluidity, creativity, and urine and saliva and all the sexual fluids, all the fluids of the body. Also rules aphrodisiacs because it rules sexual energy, right? And it also speaks to our one-on-one relationships, how you are with your partner, sibling, parent, coworker, whatever that is, business relationship. It's about me and you, or you and one other person, or you know, one-on-one kind of encounters. Aces in the deck usually herald well, like an ace in your pocket, like a boon from the universe. And for that reason, they're usually considered pretty positive cards, especially when they're pulled right side up. So the Ace of Cups says to us, enlightenment, supreme unconditional love, success, fulfillment, blessedness. Now, what's so cool about this and why I'm really glad I do the Oracle write-up and the tarot reading is that they are supportive of each other. They're not giving us the same information, right? Because interestingly enough, the Plan Alchemy cards were saying, you know, I need you to stop bullshitting. I need you to get into this. I need you to recognize this. I need you to stop making excuses. And this reading is talking about when we do those things, when we stop making excuses, when we take responsibility for ourselves and we are accountable for our actions and our decisions and our feelings, then we come into a point of balance where we can actually work with the energy to move us forward and closer to the things that we actually want to be, the things that we actually want to manifest in this world. And so to support our concern for the month, which is balance, we have the Ace of Cups coming up and saying our opportunity here is to be enlightened, to feel supremely and unconditionally loving, to be successful, to have fulfillment, to be blessed. And so I think that that's an indication that if you are not receiving enlightenment, supreme unconditional love, success, fulfillment, blessedness right now at this time, then that's an indication and a physical outward indication that you are not doing the work to be balanced inside. It is an opportunity and it's an obstacle, right? So for people who want all these things, but find things turning to dust in their hands or in their mouths or in their eyes or in their ears, whatever, however you're experiencing it, this card is speaking to you about using that as an indication from the universe that you're not in balance and that something in you needs to be realigned or extracted or acknowledged, right? We need to be able to look ourselves in the mirror and be okay with what we see there, whether that person is doing the things that we imagine they should be doing or not. It's about reconciliation. It's about taking that moment to realize that even though in the past, which is every moment but the opportunity that you have now and going forward, you might not have done what you felt you should have done. But now every opportunity that from that recognition is the opportunity to do what you need to do. There's never a point that it's too late to turn the ship around. And, you know, that's true regardless of how, what and how big and what kind of ship that you have. The point is, I think, not to be fixated on the ship. The point is to be fixated on the direction that you want to go in. Whether you're paddling, whether you got sails, whether you have to do it with your hands, as long as you're moving in the direction, you will find the rewards. The rewards being enlightenment, supreme and an unconditional love, success, fulfillment, blessedness. If you're feeling anxiety, depression, withdrawn, animosity, anger, jealousy, any of these feelings that are associated with dis-ease, emotional dis-ease, because cups is all about one-on-one relationships and feelings, right? And also creativity, then we know that we have more work to do on ourselves, right? But also don't forget that cups represents creativity. So it's also an important indicator that, you know, ways to become enlightened, ways to become, enter into, to acknowledge the supreme unconditional love, ways to be successful, ways to feel fulfilled, ways to feel blessed, are to use your creative energy and your creative knowledge to expel whatever you need to inside yourself so that we can get closer to that balance, or to bring into your existence or your life or yourself whatever you need to create that balance, because balance isn't just about expelling things, sometimes about taking things on. So in this sense, it's like, use your creativity, do free writing, make a vision board, be creative, paint, draw. Whenever there's anxiety, wherever there's doubt, wherever there's a lack of balance, use a creative way of dealing with the issue. Which, by the way, can also include, you know, creatively for you, addressing a social concern in a way that maybe you wouldn't have before. An idea that has come to me recently, and I'll just share it with you because it's random and it's in the category, is basically, if I get mad at somebody who I'm very close to, and I was thinking of it as like an intimate partner or something, that's something that I would like to do is the person who, okay, so say you're in a partnership and you're both in an argument and you're both very mad at each other. So the person who is maddest, or, you know, the most irritated, gets to call upon this mirroring exercise. Now, the person who, okay, I'm probably fucking it up a little. But the point is, there's a mirroring exercise, and that when you're mad at one another, that you should look at each other, and one person, whether it's the maddest person or the least mad person, should be able to direct the physical behavior and have the person in front of them mirror that behavior, right? Because it's a way of creatively dealing with an issue. It's a way of expressing ourselves outside of language, so not getting so caught up on the intellectualization, right? It's a more emotive way of communicating our frustration. So actually, I think it should be the maddest person who ends up having to do the actions, but the person who recognizes that the other person is more mad is the one who should call upon it, right? So the person who's calling upon it is giving the mad person an opportunity to showcase their upsetness in a different form. And also, it can be funny, right? Because if you're mad at someone and they're imitating everything you do, you're going to try and make them do things probably that they can't physically do. And that can inspire some humor if you're trying to, like, you know, someone's really flexible and you're trying to do bend over backwards or whatever that looks like. Point is, that's a creative way of addressing an issue. And it doesn't just have to be in some sort of artistic form like writing or drawing. It can also be physical. It can be taking a walk. It can be going to a dance class. It can be, you know, doing something out of the regular form and format, so that you are creatively addressing the concerns in your life in order to get closer to that enlightenment, that supreme unconditional love, that success, that fulfillment, and that blessedness. Our third and final card in Koa is our advantage or our aversion. We got the Four of Wands right side up. Now, the Four of Wands, we have air, swords, then we have water, cups. Now we got fire, wands. Wands is a suit of fire. It's a suit of personal development. It's a suit of aspirations. It is the suit of feet to the fire and fire under our ass. It's the suit of how we see ourselves versus how the world sees us, and whether those images are mirrored or unreconciled, right? So we are the only person inside of our heads. It is 100% our obligation as our individual selves to make ourselves as clear as possible to the people around us, because they're incapable of being with us as we are every moment of every day. So we must deliver this information, right? So if you find that people are approaching you in a way that you feel is uncharacteristic of who you are, or you find yourself in situations where you don't think that you should be, or people treating you in ways that you don't think you should be treated, these are wands issues, because the wands say if someone is in balance, then the way that they see themselves and the way that the world sees them is more or less on par, right? So Four of Wands right side up says agreement, relief, satisfaction of all parties involved, a balancing of opposing spirits and wills. Ashe, Amina, Abita, all these things to say. I mean, this is like the most supportive reading, which is incredible. And also saying, you know, if you put the work in, you will be rewarded. To be clear, the imperative work from the universe is yourself. Obviously, yourself is defined by a series of agreements that you have made that you're either going to need to break if those agreements no longer hold for who you're becoming, or you're going to need to double down on, right? So if the agreement that you made is to be in a particular job or a particular relationship or a particular place, and all those agreements are actually still functional for the person that you're trying to become, then you continue doing that work and you will be rewarded. However, if you know that those activities or those agreements no longer speak to the person that you are trying to become, or that you're becoming regardless of whether you're trying to or not, then we know it's time to create new agreements, forge new agreements, or at least dissolve old ones that no longer serve their purpose. So the Four of Wands, agreement, relief, satisfaction of all parties involved, a balancing of opposing spirits and wills. Oh yes, this is important because it's October. A balancing of opposing spirits and wills. Dude, Spirit is so ready and able. Spirit is so ready and able right now to be of assistance. I swear, if you are doing any sort of prayer work, any sort of ritual work, ritual, by the way, can be taking hikes every day, going to dance classes every day, invoking a tradition in your life. If you have an ancestral wall, if you go to services or church, if you pray, all these things are totally going to be supported this month. And if you find that this month is a little bit more majestic or magical or any of those things, don't be surprised, because when we say the veil is thin, when we say happy Halloween, when we say happy Samhain, we're talking about a time in the fall where spirit can be grounded. Again, fall is the time where things die, the living dies. So just environmentally, that is a veiled and a thin time because... Sorry, my dog's going crazy with it. It's a veiled time because winter is when things are dead. Summer is when things are alive. Spring is when things are growing. But if we're talking about dealing with the spirit world, the dead, then we're talking about dealing with this time, autumnal time, the time between living and dead, right? And that's why this month is primed. So do not be surprised if your dreams end up being way more illusory or majestic. Don't be surprised if certain synchronicities start happening in your life, particularly if you're doing the work of your existence, which is to be yourself to the best of your ability as often as possible without judgment or insistence on the outcome of how that looks like, right? Because you should be able to look any kind of way and be any kind of way so long as it's sincere to you and not a violation of other people's right to do the same. Just the more truthful that we are with ourselves, the more we call upon those energies that will be helpful to us, that aren't just us, but are our belief systems, the stronger the support will be this month in particular, because October is the thinning of the veil. It is the time of the phoenix. It is the time of majesty. It's the time of welcoming in a new phase, or even a cocoon phase. And it's a time of going from activity into rest. It's a time from going from creating ideas to actually putting the work in. And so long as you're doing this, the cards this month are completely affirmative with air, with water, with fire. Together, these elements, done correctly, worked with correctly, will bring you stability, which is the fourth sign, right? That would be, of course, earth, and that would include being grounded and being balanced, because if there's no gravity, you can't really be balanced, can you? Even though you can find a center and equilibrium. So let us find our earthly place by using air, water, and fire to balance ourselves, and everything should go great. And again, if they aren't going great, that's an indication that you need to go back to the concern and find balance. Within, so without. As above, so below. So if things are incorrect outside, correct them inside until you start to see changes, and embrace whatever comes. Don't be fixated on the way the formation of the outcome looks. Don't be so concerned about the formation. Be concerned about the function. That is going to be the most telling, helpful aspect of this month. So that is our October reading. It's really nice to do tarot again. I miss the tarot cards, but it's been really good doing oracle readings. And thanks for joining me. And I hope that this reading was helpful to you, and have a wonderful Halloween and Samhain in October.